The title of my speech this morning is called Moving from Good to Excellent. Moving from good to excellent. The first, develop a plan of action with milestone dates or action items for each deliverable. There's an old adage that says planning to fail is failing to plan is planning to fail. The question some of you ask yourself is, why would I want to plan or attempt to plan any part of my life? The answer is, that is what most successful people do. Most successful people are dreamers by nature. And in some way or another, in order to achieve it, you have to envision it, you have to think about it, and you have to execute it. If you have no plan, then you have no roadmap. You have no vehicle through which you can know where you're going. Or if you have no dates associated, you have no way of attempting to understand, how do I get to the next level? My own personal plan of action is both personal and professional, based upon who I am, the things I know about me, and based upon what was achievable in my life. By the time I was 27 years old, I wanted to own a single-family home. That was a personal. On a professional level, by the time I was 30 years old, I wanted to earn $75,000 a year, and I wanted to manage a staff. Both of those things were attainable based upon who and what I was. It would have been futile for me to have things in my plan related to things that were unimportant to me. Cars, trips, and those sorts of things. I am a saver by nature, so therefore all of the things that surrounded my plan involved my plan of action. And I put dates and times associated with those things to ensure that I was able to get where I wanted to go. Number two, stay focused on your goals and objectives. In my opinion, this generation of young people is distracted. This generation is in a technology time warp, so to speak. And that's a blessing and a curse. When I was a kid, and those of you who are around my age will clearly understand what I'm talking about, we would pass notes. We would write the little note, and we'd fold it up, and we would slide it to the person and say, "Do you like me?" To the telephone. I remember being in the 8th grade when I made my first phone call to a young lady I happened to like from school. My mother said, "She can't take no phone calls from no little boys." I tried. We then moved to email. So, fast forward with me sometime, and now we have people meeting, dating, and even getting married to people they meet via the internet. Students can fact check their teachers while they're sitting in their seat. People are texting, sexting, and even being catfished via the internet. All of the modern technology make us more aware and more informed. It can assist us in studying and becoming more learned, but it can also cause us to be confused and lose sight of what really matters. Technology can also cause us to become distracted, obsessed, lose our focus, and put us in a situation where we are not being all that we can be. Point of personal privilege. One of my previous jobs was working at OPM. I worked and developed the systems for those of you who work for the federal government or government contractors who do the background or security investigations for the executive branch. I can tell you, stay off of social media. You can't manage who your friends talk to. You can't manage what is said out there. If you put it out in the public space, assume that you would want your mother or your grandmother to see it. A good investigator is going to find it. And you don't want that to place you in harm's way in terms of your security clearances or your background investigation. For those of us who work in the DMV, a lot of us are employed based upon organizations that interface with the federal government. Don't let that be your nemesis. Enough said. I'll repeat again. You must stay focused and diligent on your goals and objectives as you move from good to excellent. Number 3, do your very best at all times. The world is a changing place and is forever changing day by day. In the United States, we have fallen further and further behind other countries in reading, science, mathematics, and education in general. When you look at the data for bachelor's degrees, and working at the Census Bureau, I am a data-driven person. The numbers don't lie. It shows that only one race of people year over year has an increase in bachelor's degrees. Anybody want to guess what race of people that is? Asians. While all other races of people have stagnated and in many cases have begun to move backwards. What this says is that your competition is not county-wide. Your competition is not statewide. Your competition is not countrywide. Your competition is global. The very companies that are introducing the technology to us have offshored most of their strategic operations. Most of them do little in this country. Countries like India and China produce multiple times over more STEM graduates than the United States. And only the best and the brightest will be offered opportunities or careers with the federal government or major private sector organizations. I recall when I was a graduating senior who had already accepted a position at AT&T, I eased off the pedal, going into the home stretch, and it cost me graduating with honors. Another even more important consequence of that decision was that I was up for the fraternity's Regional District Scholar of the Year. When the numbers were counted, I lost by 4/100ths of a point. That decision probably cost me $5,000. That was 25 years ago. Based upon the numbers the fraternity is giving out today, that's probably a $15,000 decision. This is why you must finish the race, and this is why you must do your very best at all times as you move from good to excellent. Number 4, take advantage of every opportunity that is presented to you. And if none is presented, create one of your own. I believe that 2014 is a year in which traditional leadership is less likely to work. We must begin to believe in non-traditional leadership, and this calls for non-traditional approaches to problem solving. Whether your aims are political, social, or economic, alternative approaches must be considered. For example, at the 2004 Democratic Convention, a young state senator was given the opportunity to speak to the delegates on the convention floor. No one had ever heard of this person. Fast forward 2 years. That same young man becomes the junior senator from the state of Illinois. Fast forward with me again 2 more years at the start of the 2008 Democratic primary. Conventional wisdom and the Democratic machine would have Hillary Clinton sailing into the Democratic nomination for president. But then Super Tuesday came. And that same young man, with these unconventional approaches to fundraising, communicating and connecting with the community, usurped her and became the first African-American president in the United States. He set records for fundraising with his approach. In case you don't know, I'll tell you what it is. I'll take your $5, your $5, and your $5 and put it together, and I'll raise more money than these corporate sponsors with their multi-million-dollar approaches to campaign finance. Non-traditional approaches to leadership must be considered in order for us to be successful. Next point. I must mention to you young people that you must begin to develop an entrepreneurial spirit. The data I presented to you a few moments ago clearly states that if you do not make your own opportunity, one may not exist for you. I love to tell the story, especially because I have a couple of young people who work for me. One is my secretary and the other one is my assistant. Both of these are young African-American females who seem to have a resistance to education in the classroom. What I have said to them privately is that you cannot do what your parents did. Your parents and your grandparents were able to get to GS 13, GS 14, and maybe even GS 15 without a college degree. I have a secretary who's a GS 7 who's trying to get to GS 8. I said to her with a straight face, why would I give you an 8 when the criteria to be an IT specialist or a computer scientist in the federal government is a bachelor's degree? I can go hire a bachelor's degree computer scientist for the same rate of pay that I give you without a degree. Real talk. Real talk. So that's why you must develop an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but it must be done if you're going to move from good to excellent. Number 5, communicate your wants, needs, and desires to those around you who love you, care for you, and influence you. I recall as a child, about 7 or 8, being dropped off at my great aunt and uncle's home to be cared for 1 week during the summer. My great aunt rarely ate after my uncle left in the morning. She would not eat again until about 3:30 when he came home. One day we were sitting eating, and I was eating as if I had never eaten before. And she said to me, boy, what's wrong with you? And I said, Auntie, I'm hungry. I carry her quote with me every day for as long as I live. And that quote went, boy, you got to ask for what you want. Can't nobody read your mind. I say all that to say, if you need support, ask for it. If you need help, ask for it. If you need assistance, ask for it. You will never know where your blessings are going to come from. If you let your need be known, there is always someone who will provide you with some help. It may not get you there entirely, but it'll get you someplace further than you were before. This same great aunt, with her 6th grade education and living on a fixed income after my uncle died, she used to harass me about coming to see her when I was on break. I was 20 years old. I wanted to hang out with my friends. I wanted to be in the street. But she was unrelenting. I would go to her house and she would say, boy, write yourself out a check for $50. And I was like, I want you all to know that $50 may as well have been $1,000. That $50 changed my life. And I sit here to you 30 years later talking about the great aunt who wrote me the check for $50. Not some of the other nonsense. That's the stuff that I carry forward. So as we sit and we think about where we are, we don't want to let the little things slip by. She did 2 things with those visits. It allowed her to see me, but it also gave her the chance to play it forward. Every single one of us has a responsibility to play it forward at some point. Give back to where you come from, because you never know whose life you are going to impact. And you've heard some of the testimonies here today. Your ability to communicate is going to play a major role in your success as you move through this life. I am begging you to do it and do it well. Number 6, last but not least, have a contingency plan for things that do not go as you expect them to go. I was smart, not because I was gifted, but because I worked hard. I was talented again, not because I was gifted, but because I worked hard. I was teased relentlessly for being big and clumsy. The treatment caused me to be less social. It caused me to withdraw and focus on my academics. And it caused me to also become a gym rat. What that did, though, was it created a frustration in me. And the football field was about the only place where I could take out that aggression and not get arrested. I attempted every practice, every minute of every day to punish those around me who teased me. I was an all-state defensive end and was offered scholarship opportunities by most of the top 25 programs in this country. I was going to play football. I was going to get a college education. And I was going to maybe even play in the NFL. My life was all planned out. Then on a freak play in the third game of the season, an offensive lineman hit me in my right leg and broke my hip. As I lay on the turf, looking up at the sky, the only thing I could say was, "Oh God, why me?" I was on crutches for 5 months and had 2 major surgeries that put 4 pins in my hip. I wanted to be an engineer, and I figured, well, I can't play. I'll at least be able to study and finish out. But I forgot. I was taking up somebody's scholarship. The stress associated with being in the program and not participating became unbearable. I decided to transfer. A buddy of mine was going to Clark at college at the time, and said, "Come on down here with me to Morehouse," because I wanted to be an engineer. That's where I met Brother Lucian Cox some 30 years ago.
Enough said.
I realized after my first semester that I was not going to be able to stay because I had no contingency. I had no idea how I was going to pay for my education at Morehouse College. I immediately started to look at where can I get to that would allow me to go with a Pell Grant and a guaranteed student loan. I ultimately ended up graduating from California University of Pennsylvania with multiple degrees, and that helps to bring me where I am today. I want to make you all understand that I serve an awesome God. And even when I was not doing the things that I was supposed to be doing, I had those praying mothers, aunties, and grandmothers out there. Today, I walk with a slight limp. One of my legs, my right leg, is a 1/4 inch shorter than the other one. But I'm here to tell you, I get up every morning and go downstairs and I get on my treadmill. I ride my stepper. I play basketball, I play baseball, and I have even run 10Ks. I am here by the glory of God. And so I am thankful for my life experiences, whatever they are, but I'm telling you people, you must develop a contingency plan. Things are not always going to go as you expect them to go. We live in a time when parents do all the work. Kids get a trophy just for coming out. That didn't happen when I was playing. I think there might have been 2 trophies. Most improved player, most valuable player. But now kids get a trophy just for hanging out. We got the tiger parents who are finding their kids jobs, helping them to get into certain schools and colleges. Now, I'm not saying to you don't use the network. You must use the network. But adversity is going to come your way. And you need to be prepared to deal with and manage that adversity. You got to have a plan. And the question I ask each of you is, what is your plan going to be as you move from good to excellent?